Just hold on a step. Yeah, just a minute. Uh, just hold on. Yeah, I'm just. I'm sorry. Yeah, have a seat. Yeah, please, please. Okay. Uh, no, no, just relax. So actually, he's scared right now because he's really, really not sure whether the light will be there or the sound will not actually go off in between. So that's okay. Just relax. Okay, so my name is Kunal, and I'd like to start the talk with telling a small story about me and my conjoined twin. Right. Uh, Me and my conjoined twin were inseparable, obviously, because we were conjoined, right? But in a different sense altogether. Why? Because we used to sit together, we used to eat together, we used to play together, we used to sleep together, and we used to do everything together only. But in class sixth, what happened that I actually started losing touch with this conjoined twin of mine. And by the time I reached class seventh, I realized that I've actually completely lost him. And during this process, I didn't realize that his absence was actually creating a vacuum in my life. And I went on to be myself, a less happy self, without realizing what was really absent in my life. Ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to introduce you to my better half, to my everything, my friend, my conjoined twin, Mr. Imagination Arora right now here. So before I actually proceed further in this talk, I have a lot of questions for each one of you because I realize that all of you are very active right now in this particular session. So I'm going to throw a lot of questions at you, and I want each one of you to ponder over those questions very seriously. So shall I start? Right. So the first question is: when was the last time you actually cooked something for your own self or for your family without looking at the recipe book? When was the last time you got a garment stitched without looking at a particular magazine or a particular design? When was the last time, my dear friends, you actually created something without using Google? And when was the last time you actually imagined? And what was that? I want you to even think about it for a moment. What is happening right now is that we are not imagining. We are not actually doing which is the basic purpose of our existence, to imagine. So I want each one of you to imagine right now with me for next 30 seconds. Just close your eyes for a moment. Just don't think about anything. Sit comfortably and close your eyes. Now imagine right now you're in a kitchen, right? And there's a green slab. You're looking for a lemon. You're not able to find it. You recall, okay, the lemon is actually kept inside the refrigerator. You go back to the refrigerator, you're walking right now, you're imagining everything. You open the door, it's February, and it's quite chilly. It's not that cold, but it's chilly. You find that very cute, bright lemon kept on that grill inside the fridge, and you take it up. You hold it. It's cold. You can actually feel it. I mean, it's something is there in your palm, some different feeling. You just want to keep it on the slab, but you just keep it. You just try to experience the weight of the lemon. It's just approximately 12.3383 grams, I guess. Then you take it and you go back to the kitchen and you find a knife that's kept just right next to the stove, and then you cut the lemon and you can actually have that smell, that citrus smell, right? These kind of smells are really, really important, these kind of fruits. You can actually smell that, the whole smell of that lemon. Now you take one part of the lemon and then you open your mouth and you squeeze it. Just do it. Can you feel something? There's something happening right now near your chin. That sour feeling, right? This is, my dear friends, is the power of imagination, right? Imagination goes beyond what your eyes can see, what your nose can actually smell, what your ears can actually hear. It goes beyond all your senses, and yet we do not take this imagination very seriously. Now, what really is imagination deficit? Imagination deficit, as the name suggests, is very simple. There is no rocket science in it. It is the lack of imagination, the lack of ability to actually imagine something, right? So I've been that kid who's used to always imagine since my childhood days. Before this conjoined twin of this is still blushing out. So before he was there with me, I used to imagine like anything. And when he left, then everything changed in my life. So what really happened that I was very, very keen in dramatics, very, very keen in theater. Anywhere I used to hear something about drama, I was bang, they're on. I used to rehearse dialogue. I used to sit in front of the mirror and used to rehearse a lot of characters, take dialogues from Amitabh Bachchan movie and probably do it in a Rakhi Sawant style, just play with the movies, anywhere. So basically, when I actually started growing up, I realized that life is not easy. I was actually forced to study something that I did not like. You know what? In everybody's life, there is this one villain. It could be your parents, your ex-girlfriend, your boyfriend, your teacher, anything. In my life, there was this wonderful, wonderful concept called mathematics. So my mom said, this is not how it's done. You have to follow the norms. Unfortunately, we belong to a normative society where we have to follow the norms. And that's what I did. Owing to that pressure, what I actually did, I started studying mathematics. And in class 10th, that is like the biggest mistake, the blunder, the horrendous part of my life, that I actually chose commerce with mathematics. Because I thought, hey, it's easy. Everybody is doing it. I can do it. And that is when the struggle actually started, right? I could not even study for a moment. Now, this picture really sums up my conversation with my dad, right? And the importance of mathematics in our lives. So what happened that in class 12th, I scored a compartment. I had a compartment in class 12th, right? So I was literally on my feet. There was no way to go. I used to actually look for various options. I was denied admission in HM, law, NIFT. I even tried for NIFT. Imagine I was actually working on how to cut a cloth and to pass the situation test, but I did not get through anywhere because they said, hey, your result is pending. And that closed all the doors. And that is when this wonderful person sitting right now smoking came back into my life. And both of us transformed my hobby into my passion and went on to an extent that I got admission in the same college where I was denied admission purely on the basis of theater quota. That's only because of this guy, right? And that day, on that day, I realized that I will not let him go. Come what may, he will stay with me. I will not let him go. And what happened, interestingly, after 5 years, I was called by the same institution. I will not name the name school right now. They called me back as a guest faculty to teach theater in the same school where I got a compartment because I wanted to follow my passion, because I wanted to imagine. And today, after 5 years, I went there and did the same thing which I was told not to 5 years back. Only because this wonderful person sitting right in the chair and is actually playing with me in my talk because of this guy, right? Everything was going just fine, absolutely fine. Till one day, what happened? So I used to take SUPW periods. It's called activity periods on Friday, 7-8 periods. So I told this class of 40 students to actually make a play on poverty and come back to and show it to me on Monday because there was a competition lined up. So I made a competition kind of a thing and it's a very competitive feel. On Monday, all these young kids, very pumped up, all ready to perform, came on the stage and started performing the respective street plays. To my surprise, out of the 4 street plays I saw that day, that morning, 3 of them were almost similar. There were stark similarities between all 3 of them. Even the lines, the structure, and the dialogues, everything was almost same. I did not have words to say. There was a certain dearth of words at that point of time. What is he really asking? He's asking me to give him pointers for his own imagination. Now, this is the reality of our education system. Right? We have stopped imagining. My expertise lies in the schools arena, so I'm only going to talk about schools, but this applies everywhere, in the industry, outside in the colleges, in this room as well. I'm not too sure whether all of you have the respective conjoined twins right now, or you've lost them long back in your school, maybe in the swings, maybe in the college, maybe in the office. I don't know where. And I try to figure out various reasons behind it. And I thought that probably I will not use internet for once, because this is a problem related to imagination. I want to imagine the solution. I want to imagine and understand the problem. And I realized there are 4 or 5 major things that are actually causing imagination deficit. And first of them is the structure. If you see a child, if you see the whole timetable of a child goes for 8-9 periods on a daily basis, right? Roughly 8 or 9 periods in a school. That comes down to 6 into 8, 8 6 are 48, right? That's how I calculate math and everything. 48, and out of that 48 periods in a week, only 2 are sports periods, 2 are library periods, and 2 are SUPW periods. These are like activity periods. There's only 8 periods. So 8 upon 48 into 100. 8, 1, 6, 100 upon 6, 50 upon 3. I can't go beyond that. I'm sorry, my math doesn't allow me. So 50 upon 3, that is the percentage, roughly around 8-9%. Don't judge me if my corrections are wrong. If you contemplate right now, any kind of scope is not given to these students, right? The duration in which they could really imagine, create something is only sidelined, is never a part of the mainstream curriculum. What is happening in the other 80% of the whole syllabus or the 40 periods is that we're continuously feeding them with information and information and information and information, not giving them enough time to even imagine, think about the respective information, because the moment he's done from the class, he goes back home, he's burdened with homework, and then he has to go to the tuition and to do his homework, then he comes back home and gets involved in TV or WhatsApp or Snapchat, and that's passive learning. And again the cycle starts. Feeding and feeding and feeding and feeding. Now that's a very big threat. Now, second important reason that I could figure out is the outlook. Now, I'll be brutally blunt right now on this platform. I don't think we are ready for imagination. I don't think we can really accept imagination. I think we are continuously haunted by this fear of right and wrong. If there is some right and there is some wrong, and our life actually dwindles between those two extreme corners. There is nothing, there is no gray area. And this is so evident in the classes as well. In a class where a child should be given the autonomy to run that class, what is the most important point? Silence. Right? Any kind of constructive noise is only considered as chaos. And chaos, my dear friend, is uncontrollable. One thing system doesn't want is that is chaos. Right? So that is really, really something to ponder upon. And third and the most important point is technology. Technology is making us dependent. Right? What is the first thing that you do when you're actually assigned something, one assignment, one homework, anything, in the school also? You Google. Right? What you do, you directly run to the Google and you start finding the answers. There is no scope of imagination. There is no room of imagination. And what is happening right now is that you're actually replacing your imagination with Google, or to say, Google is becoming the new imagination. I'm not against Google at all, but Google is a source of information and not a source of imagination. When that happens, you're screwed. You are actually doomed, because you are literally dependent on a machine that doesn't have the ability to think. Another interesting aspect of technology is, as I call it, smart classes, right? They're supposed to make you smart, but do they really make you smart? If you see, nothing has changed over the years. Earlier it was the book, now it's the smart class. The medium has changed, nothing has changed at all. The system hasn't changed. The focus is still, my dear friends, on learning and not on thinking, right? With the smart classes, you're creating visuals, you're feeding the child with images. You're feeding again. Now with multimedia visual, that's it. And with the coming of multimedia visuals, there is a bigger threat, because earlier the child had the opportunity to even imagine something. Now, if he sees a Cinderella on a screen, that is a Cinderella for him. The whole picture is very grave right now. There are disastrous issues that have been taken birth because of imagination deficit. The first and the most important point is the collateral damage that the imagination deficit does to our children. In fact, to all of us, right? It makes us emotionally and verbally less expressive. You can't even express yourself. You eat less, you talk less, you engage less, you play less, you laugh less. You do everything in a very, very confined manner, as if something is getting curbed inside you. Second important issue with this particular deficit is boredom. Now, if I tell these kids to actually spend time, even half an hour with themselves, they're scared. That's a very scary thought. They can't spend time with their own selves. Why? Because they're bored of themselves. They don't like their respective companies. Right? Why? Because they've stopped imagining. They can't think of a new world. They need somebody. They're so dependent. Either it has to be a WhatsApp or a Snapchat or an Instagram or a friend or something has to be there. We are hollow from inside. These kids are hollow from inside. All of them. Third important aspect and a very important issue is self-doubt. Right? If these kids have stopped trusting themselves. Now, even if today I tell them to write a love letter because Valentine's Day is around the corner, the first thing they do is, no, why don't you Google it? No, this phrase is so dangerous right now. Why don't you Google it? Small spelling, you know the spelling. You know the phrase, you know the sentence. Why don't you Google? Just be sure, no? Why don't you Google it? And now, every time you're reaching out to Google, there is a trust deficit that is happening. Along with the imagination deficit, that means you're completely relying on Google. In fact, you're actually marrying Google in a way, right? So these are certain disastrous issues that have actually been caused due to imagination deficit. Now, very important point is, what is the solution then? What is really working right now then? Then I started working on various aspects and I thought, what can really be used? What are the pragmatic solutions to the whole problem? Let's just think about it, right? The first and the foremost important aspect is ask questions. Ask as many questions as possible, because only questions will take you somewhere. And if the day you are satisfied, ask more questions. Do not settle, because questions will take you home. Second important aspect or measure is that every time you get something around creation, where you have to create something, imagine and then Google. Right? Give yourself some time. I'm not even advocating a case against technology here, mind you. I'm saying do not let the technology become the priority. If you have to create something, you have to move outside the Google, because the magic lies, unfortunately, outside the Google. Right? So you have to really push in your boundaries and think beyond the boundaries of Google. And third important point is fix a time. Now that's a very interesting concept. Now what they really do is they actually fix a particular time. It's called a genius hour, right? And ironically, it originated from a company. Can you just take a wild guess? Google originated this whole concept of time projects. And it's popularly known as genius hours, wherein a certain amount of time is only kept for the employees, where they can do whatever they want to, provided they make something that has value or whatever they want to. And this model has been replicated right now in various schools as well, where a specific amount of time is allocated, where students can actually do whatever they want to and come up with a research project, maybe some model, maybe some car, something, some song, any goddamn thing, but they have to create. Because if you do not create, then you're not good enough to be a part of this planet, right? So I want all of you to leave this. I want to leave this room with a question: that you have the courage to actually imagine and explore the hidden treasures inside you. I hope that you find your respective conjoined twins as soon as possible. Thank you so much. Thank you so much again. Shalimura. Okay, that's it. Thank you. Thank you so much. Bigger applause for Imagination Aurora as well. It will be really good. Thank you so much. Yeah, please. No, come.